Hola, hola, hola. Yes. Good evening. Are you enjoying? Yes. We have some amazing people here, amazing stories. It's really exciting. It's good to be together to co-create, isn't it? To build things together. And that's the underlying topic we have in this conversation today, because everything is not an individual effort, but is about working together. And that's why my talk is about collaboration to build a new civilization, because we're facing some deep challenges right now, and the only way forward is by working together. So I'm going to throw at you some ideas, some lessons, and some insights from the work that I've been doing over the past 12 years, both from a personal standpoint and from the professional work, some exciting things. So next one, please. So I'm going to ruin the ending of the story for you. So the idea of today is there's three key things I want you to take away from this conversation. First, that collaboration is the key to our future. There's no other way. There's no way to go forward thinking in terms of individualism. But to collaborate well, this is only something we can do when we change the way we collaborate. And that means collaborating from mutuality, not this typical collaboration. And number three is that if we bring this way of connecting to each other, to collaborate into everything we do, and we can scale it up using technology that we have today, then we can actually really build a new civilization. And so today I'm going to be stretching your mind a bit with these thoughts, going a little bit from the personal and now into bigger picture. So next one, please. So, una más? Yeah, so when we talk about collaboration and mutuality, we usually think about collaborating. Well, what do you think about? A lot of people think about collaboration or teams as when we worked in school, because we weren't really taught how to collaborate. We were just thrown in teams, and everyone has had that experience where there's a team of 5 having to do a presentation, 1 does a presentation, 2 got together but they were joking around, 2 didn't show up, and then they get angry when you don't put their name on the presentation, right? So that's yesterday's collaboration. We don't want this crap. We want something that's actually meaningful. So we're going to talk about this today. And so when we talk about collaboration from mutuality, mutuality means about a win-win situation. Mutuality is about deep connection, and that's what we're going to be working on as well. So, una más. So why is this important? As I mentioned at the beginning, we are facing some deep challenges. So our population is still booming. We're going to be around 9 billion people in 2050, 2060, and most of them living in cities, and cities are hungry for resources. How are we going to feed all these people? Well, we need to do better, because currently we're wasting over 50% of the food we produce. At the same time, we have people who are feeling disconnected from each other. There's hopelessness, there's depression, and then there's, at the same time, in the background, because of the way we set things up, biodiversity collapse. You know, we are losing species at an alarming rate. And so how can we go from this crappy side here, gray and ugly, into something that's interesting over there, something that's beautiful? Because as I'm saying, it's all about how we connect things. So one more, please. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm going to give you a bit of context about where I come from. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a speaker, I've been all over the world working with companies, with individuals who want to do change. And one of the things that I'm most interested about is about building things with others, about connecting the disconnected. It's like building Legos with ideas, with people, with organizations. And so I'm going to share a bit about where these ideas come from. So in 2011, I was connected for the first time with this deep sense of purpose. I woke up one February 11th, 2011 with this connection, this certainty of, oh, I want to do something to change the world. I read this book called The Blue Economy by Gunther Pauli, and that was, for me, exhilarating because it gave me a language finally to understand why I felt so disconnected to all those sustainable things we were doing. And with this sense of purpose, of wanting to do change, to use these ideas, I went off and said, "Ooh, I'm going to go change the world. I'm going to build a project." And so I built this company called Spora, which was all about turning coffee waste into food. Now, that's not what I'm going to talk about today, but in this process, this 5-year journey where I managed to make alliances and things, as I mentioned, I stepped out saying, I want to change the world. And the world said, that's nice. But before you do that, why don't you work on yourself, dude? And so what happened in this journey is that I had this big ego. We all have this inflated ego, but when you want to change the world, you have to have a really big ego. And that's not a bad thing. The problem is when that is costing you all the opportunities. And so as I went off to do this change work, I felt like I had all the answers. I felt like only I could do the right things, like everyone else was dumb, and I didn't even have the humility to accept help. And so as I went on over the years and wanted to build this project to start producing mushrooms and gathering coffee and whatever, story for a different day, what happened is I learned to have humility, to accept help from others, to build teams with other organizations at some point, to learn that if I want to do this on my own, it's really impossible. There's not enough time in the life to do this. And I thought it was only me, but as I went into this universe of impact investment, of entrepreneurs doing change, I saw that that's not only me, it's everyone. Everyone who's doing impact, most people at least, have this, again, inflated ego, and they don't have this sense of how to collaborate. So there's people in NGOs or in social businesses working on the same thing, wanting to save people with cancer, wanting to save children, wanting to save the mangroves, but they're not collaborating. We've seen this here with the Sargasso. So many institutions and people working on the same thing, but they don't collaborate. So I saw this as three big syndromes. The syndrome of the hero, wanting to carry the big stone on my back, wanting to have all the answers. Syndrome number 2 of silence, not knowing how to communicate. And then the third one, which is about having too much noise, thinking about too many things and not going for the root cause. So those 3 things I noticed in the people in the world who want to do change, because I saw them in myself. And I was thinking, how can we do this differently? Well, as Martin Luther King said, people who love peace must learn to organize just as well as people who love war. And it's easy for people who love war to organize because they have a common vision. They all like chaos and mischief and misinformation. But what do we agree about, those people who like peace? Not a lot. Because we all have different ideas of what peace looks like, and we aren't having conversations. One more. So where can we find inspiration to do things differently? And so one wonderful source of inspiration is the mother of all sustainability, Mother Earth. And we have one amazing thing to look at, the oldest living organism in the planet, which is this wonderful forest in the Wasatch Mountains in the US. An over 80,000-year-old being, 40,000 trees living together, sharing the same DNA. How have they managed to go through so many ice ages and droughts and things? How do you think they did it? They did it together. How? How do trees work together? They can't move. They talk to each other. Una más, por favor. So one massive, interdependent network, internet of trees, sharing information, sharing water, sharing resources. So when trees over here have thirst, the trees over here who are near water can send them water. When trees over here have famine, the trees over here with nutrients can send them food. It's a mutually supportive win-win-win situation that's held them together for hundreds and thousands of years. Can we learn from this? I mean, this is a good place to find inspiration. They've been around since humans left Africa. So how can we do this? And where else can we find inspiration? Well, we don't have to look very far. Ourselves, we are also an ecosystem of things, an interconnected thing. We have a colony of bacteria, we have viruses, we have all kinds of things, our own cells, so many cells, working together with one common purpose. What do you think that purpose is? Not only survival, to thrive, to flourish, to go way beyond just surviving, to go and evolve. And so our bodies do this every day, in conjunction, trillions of cells and bacteria working together. We can learn from this. You know what? So nature is the master of sustainability, and we can learn from this, and we can apply these ideas to the way we work in our businesses and in our teams and everything. And it's all, again, about mutuality, about building those win-win conversations. And so I want to share with you a little bit about how we are doing this in businesses, with communities. And so, so how to collaborate like this, but working with people. And so I'm asking you, were we ever taught how to collaborate? Do you think? Yes? Raise your hand if you think we were taught how to collaborate. More or less. I don't see any hands. That's right. We were not taught to collaborate. We were taught to compete. Even when we build teams, we ask the teams to compete with each other. We ran a training program with women a year ago with 200 women. And these women, we were put into several tables to build the tallest tower. We didn't tell them how to build the tallest tower, but eventually, some of them, there were 10 different tables. Eventually, they found that, oh, if we team up, we can build a bigger tower when we ran out of pieces, okay? But eventually, even when they knew that they had to team up, they ended up having 2 tables, one against the other. We are so ingrained with the idea of competing that even when the answer is staring us in the face, we don't use it. It was really interesting. So we've pursued competition, we've pursued win-lose circumstances and rules, when actually the world doesn't work like this. This works when you have a competition with a solid finish line, but there's a different way to go about it. And life works not as a finite game, but as an infinite game where the point is to continue playing, to have the conditions to enjoy. So we need to be able to build those mutual type of collaborations. We need to learn to connect differently, to connect to yourself, to connect to others, to connect to nature, because that is the way that we can build different kinds of businesses, different paths. So what are we doing right now with this program called the Regenerative Reboot? This is a program that's taking these ideas and bringing them into business ecosystems, building together business ecosystems. So we put together, over the past year, a network of 126 women in over 10 different states in Mexico, 18 different women-led projects benefiting at-risk women. And what we're doing is we're bringing together women from different sectors, government, academia, business, NGOs, to learn about those projects and to learn some different ways of seeing the world. And so what we're teaching them is how to connect the pieces, the disconnected things that are happening all around us every day, to learn to see how we are nested. We all belong to a place, and that place holds together a society, a group of people, and within that group of people there's businesses and commerce, and within that there's your business, and then there's you. And so we taught them to think in these terms, one more, and then we gave them a tool to help them take all that info, to really look and connect to their place, to take social data, to take economic data, to take the know-how of the place, and then put it in a graph in a space. I know you can't see very much, that doesn't matter. The point is to see that they're taking all of this info and then putting it into a place that allows them to see towards the future, to build a common vision based on their understanding of who they are in their place. And that is really powerful. One more, because then what is happening in this graph is they are mapping out different collaborations between projects. They're seeing how one business that works with artisans in the Yucatan can work with a business in Chiapas that's using textiles to make sustainable diapers, and how they can then collaborate with biofertilizer companies that are run by women as well. So we are building networks in different parts of the country with different women from different social strata. We are bringing together people from all walks of life, building a common vision and building a common language. Isn't that exciting? That's amazing. Because for the first time, these people we're weaving together people from the top echelons of power, and we're connecting them to people who are at risk, and we're having them speak in the same place and have a common vision. That's wonderful. And so what does that mean? It means we were here before, and that's where most people are today, disconnected. Businesses are competing stupidly for things, and then we're having them connect to each other and realize that when they work together, they can win more, and they're finding new opportunities, those dots in blue. So, from competition to win-win. And these are actual pictures of the people who are working in this program, who are connecting with each other in the Yucatan, here in Quintana Roo, online, of course, because the whole point is how do we connect the disconnected? And so, how do we do this? Because it's not just about connecting businesses, it's about the people. Well, again, mutuality is not just about bringing people in to connect in terms of having a common task. Let's get together to do a thing. No. That comes after. The interesting thing about building these collaborations, if the reboot itself is the brainchild of 2 friends from the regenerative world working together over the span of a year and a half, building trust, building understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so what we did is we asked these kinds of questions, And we were wondering, what is it that we can offer the world? So when you go back to your businesses tomorrow, take these kinds of questions and start asking them with your team. Like, what lights you up? What's your special, unique thing? What brings out the shadow in you? What takes you off? It's about building trust, building collaboration, mutuality, understanding, deep connection, because everything is about how we are showing up as humans, not just as someone here to do a thing. And so when we brought these questions up, people light up because they feel like they can finally express themselves and belong and share. So if we want to be like the forest, if we want to be like the human body, we need to build these deep connections among people. And not just among people, but once we start scaling up, like I showed you about how we belong into these different systems, it's also about understanding the place, the land that we belong to, and how we can then collaborate with the land. How can we nourish the land? Because the land nourishes us, it sustains us. And so we build this mutual collaboration with each other and the land through mutuality, understanding what we need and what they need and what we can then do together. So, that sounds pretty cool, but we can't build a new civilization in time with just this. So how can we actually scale it up in time? Because we have a clock ticking. So we need technology. So I'm going to share with you now the stuff that I'm working on with a wonderful team from all around the world called the Intelligent World Organism. So remember this graph? We're talking about bringing in data, social, environmental, economic, know-how, blah, blah, blah. So this is done manually. But imagine, if we had this big data info crunching monster, this big brain that's connecting all the dots automatically, not just in one region, in all the regions. Imagine the kind of power that means in being able to actually connect, just like the trees in that forest, being able to connect not just a few businesses, but entire cities, entire regions, even the entire planet. One great human project where everyone is a shareholder, where everyone wins when everybody else wins, where we have one common goal, to thrive together. And so by having this kind of technology and giving it to everyone on a phone, where they can then see how we can get to a better place from here, when we can see how many people have access to the things they need to thrive and how much ecological footprint that is and how we can improve it. If everyone has access to this, things are going to be very, very different. And so imagine, like, again, a team of teams, a global team, a global organization, a human organism linked together by this technology that we already have today, bringing us all together with one common goal. Everyone a partner, a producer, a consumer, because in the end, all living beings, all the 5 kingdoms of nature are the same. Everyone is sharing in the bounty of the land. It's about time we aligned ourselves with life and became in service to life. And so, humans collaborating at scale through technology, building this grand human enterprise. That's the way we can build a new civilization. No más? I think we're going back. Okay, so we go from me to we to all. And not just in one direction, but as the other speakers mentioned, it's about your unique dream and how it fits into the bigger picture with other people, and then how it fits into the grand story of nature and how we can live on it and in it. So again, 3 big ideas for today. Collaboration is the key to our future. And we do it by building authentic connections in mutuality. And if we scale this up, after we learn to connect with nature, others, and ourselves, then we can truly build a new civilization. Thank you.